All what the Muslims want is to make God the only master. And when we do that, when you say that, the self-appointed masters in the world, they get mad. They get angry. They become combative. And they see you as a singular threat to their existence, because you are. You are a threat to their existence, and we're proud of that, yeah?
I have one comment.
Yeah.
Just about the earlier thing about the Sharia, about the
Legislation.
the law, legislation. So, subhanAllah, for this MSA, me and Atif were the EC, the election committee. And subhanAllah, it's so hard to just legislate, to put some rules and regulations for something that's so small, so limited, and so limited in time and space and scope as an MSA.
Yeah.
Wallah, like before I used to say that without seeing it, because seeing is believing.
I know your thing.
But when I was in the MSA, it was one time the conversation was dragged, and we had to make laws on the spot. Just like, okay, is that
rules?
Rules? Yeah, listen, we have to make rules on the spot. It's just like to the time, just like stop asking questions. If you ask, we have to make more. Do it and bring it to us. Khalas, yani, do it and bring it to us. But when you see it, really,
It's such a blessing, subhanAllah.
It's super hard, really.
Legislation from God.
Wallahi, it's super hard, and MSA, it's just a very, very small thing for like 1 month or so, but it was so hectic to the point that we had like meetings after meetings after meeting, and at one point of a time we start making the rules on the go. Like we were just chatting with some of the nominees, and then they start asking questions. We have this didn't come to our mind, but we have to make rules on the go.
It's a humbling experience.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
We are all trapped in financial situation, or we all go for money.
Yeah.
So, what does our religion say? What does Islam say about the financial system, and how do you plan to get rid of riba and stay out of this riba interest? How can we live without this thing?
Well, I mean, are you speaking at the level of civilizations or at the level of like us as individuals here in the West?
First individual, and then how we can do it for the...
Because I mean, look, the thing is about us as individuals, the system is overburdening on us. This is why, unfortunately, like, we live in a time where the scholars, you come to them and ask them questions, they give you exceptional rulings for every situation, not because they're wrong, but because we do live in an exceptional time. But to really resume the Islamic system, and including the Islamic economic system, that's something that has to happen at a big level above us, right? So really the answer to your question is that there used to be an Islamic economic system, and we can bring it back. Now, many people, they look at the way I'm speaking and they feel like Islam has to change to accommodate the world, because the modern world is very different. We live in a riba-based international economy. Gold-based currencies are all gone. Now it's all fiat. And this is where I say, look, if the world changed, then we'll change it back. Because Islam does not change to accommodate the world. We change the world to accommodate Islam. And this is the difference between the principled Muslim and the modernist Muslim. Because the modernist Muslim, he looks at the world and sees that the world is hard to change and Islam is easy to change. Oh, we can easily change. We can easily revisit the tradition and come up with a different answer. Whereas the principled Muslim, he sees that the world is easy to change because with Allah's help we can do anything we want, and Islam is impossible to change because it's not our right to do so. I don't know if that's where your question was coming from, but you can ask me a follow-up.
What's the strategy for you?
The strategy.
Yeah, what's the actual strategy on your finance system, or how do you plan to stay out of it?
So everything is downstream from political power. Okay? So the answer to how the economic or the financial system will change is the same as the answer to how the crime and punishment system will change. It's the same as the answer to how labor laws and employment laws are going to change. It's the same as every question of legislation, right? So you take the communist governments, for instance. Like The communism was a new idea about how to control an economy, which, by the way, people might not know, Islam said is haram. There's so much aspects of the Islamic economic system people don't understand. Like the Sahaba came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they asked him to set controls for the prices. Let bread be this many dirhams, let dates be this many, because the people, they're struggling. Let's fix the prices. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, I've not been given the right to do this. So this concept of fixed prices, like a fixed economy, essentially planned economy that the communists have is haram. Setting that aside, they did it. They changed from a distributed economy to a centrally planned economy, and they did so with political power, right? So when you have political power, you can start to shape any geopolitical situation to your liking, right? And that's why capitalism today exists. Capitalism is not what naturally sprung out of a vacuum. There were certain people who had a specific ideology about economics, about life, about law, about everything. And they deliberately, over time, achieved power and enacted those rules. So Islam is the same way, really. People have to work on it, establish it, convince the power brokers in the Muslim countries, convince the populations in the Muslim countries through the da'wah that this is the civilization that we want to resume. Right? And that's really how every social political transformation in history occurred. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure if you answered this in the Q&A because I wasn't there, but I'm just wondering, for Muslims who are born and raised in the West or came, as really young children and basically live their entire lives in Western countries, whether it's Western Europe, Australia, North America, whatever it is, what would you say is their role in terms of, the Muslim identity or their Islamic and responsibility as Muslims? Because you mentioned that we're kind of battling between not fully belonging over here, but also not belonging in our parents' countries, because no matter what non-Muslims might believe, those are not actual Muslim countries. Because they do say if you don't like it here, go back to your
And we say if that existed, we would.
Yeah, but we know that those are not actually Islamic countries.
Yes.
So there's no point in arguing with them saying that they don't understand, right? So
very good question.
What's our role as Muslims in these countries? If there's no plan to I use the term patriarchal very loosely. For obvious reasons, but if there's no plan to do that.
Yes. So this is a very good question. I think it might be the central question, honestly. The best analogy that we have is the story of Musa alayhi salam. How many people heard me explain this before? I might have talked about it yesterday. Only a few people? Okay, so here's how, he knows, mashallah. Okay, so Musa was from Bani Israel, right? Bani Israel were colonized, they were enslaved. So they didn't have their own state. And Musa alayhi salam was saved from that generation that was going to be genocided, and that was genocided. He was in the river, and then the Pharaoh adopted Musa alayhi salam, right? So he was raised in the palace of the Pharaoh. What was his identity? He's from Bani Israel. At the same time, he's the adopted son of the great statesman, the Pharaoh, the evil but great statesman, right? So what should he have done? Or what trajectory did his life take? Did he just chill in that palace? Because he could have. He absolutely could have. He had all the luxuries and all the access he wanted. But he spent his time in that palace, shadowing that statesman, taking advantage of opportunities. When he was 40 years old, he was a leader who could lead his Bani Israel out of their chains. And when he was given the prophethood, now he was equipped to lead his people out of their chains, right? Likewise, we as Muslims, our Bani Israel, our Ummah is in chains. The chains are a little bit less visible, but we still see genocides. Just as Fir'aun did genocides are happening to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Just as Bani Israel did not have self-determination to enact their own deen, our brothers and sisters in the Muslim world don't have it either, because they're under kind of that Western hegemony through puppets, through people who look like us and speak like our language, who are not interested in implementing our deen. But we're that group of people who are actually in the palace of this big bad. Okay, so what do we do here? We do the same thing Musa did. We become experts in whatever it is that we're learning. We become leaders. We take advantage of our freedoms here. Because, hey, like the West, you're more special than, like, where are you from? Sorry? India. So Indian Muslims to the West is like killing rats or dogs. It's nothing for them. Muslims dying in India doesn't even matter. It doesn't even make the news here. A Muslim dying here, it does. You have a little bit more sanctity. So we have to take advantage of the fact that we have, in the status of nations, in the status of peoples, we're higher in status. This is why I spoke about yesterday. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هو الذي جعلكم خلائف الأرض ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم. Allah established all of you as caretakers over the earth, as successors over the earth, and He raised some of you in degrees above others so that He may test you in that which He has granted you. So you have an obligation in terms of the educational opportunities that you have, in terms of the entrepreneurial opportunities that you have, in terms of the leadership and growth opportunities that you have, in terms of the freedom of speech. I can't speak like this in Saudi Arabia. In terms of the freedom of organization, we can't organize like this anywhere in most of the Muslim world. Maybe some countries, yes. But largely speaking, we have the opportunity here to project an intellectual movement onto the Muslim world. We can change Muslim populations. We can create a movement. We can create a sense of what is cool about Islam. Because guess what? Someone who's born and raised in a Muslim country who speaks like I do in Arabic about لازم نرجع لحكم الله وخلافة أبو بكر وعمر. Like, this person looks like a barbarian to the Muslims back home, unfortunately. To the secular elites who run things, this guy is like from the Stone Ages. But when I come and I speak in English, and I come from a Western education, and I'm saying Sharia, Khilafah, La ilaha illallah, it sounds different. It's like, how many people know Jordan Peterson? Everybody grows up, their parents tell them, clean your room, beta, clean your room. You say, you screw you, mom. And then, not you guys, people who are born in the West, they speak like that, but you guys are mostly international students. And then Jordan Peterson says, clean your room, bucko. And everybody's like, wow, what a genius. Changed my life. The messenger matters just as much as the message. You people, like Quraysh was the representative of the Arabs, the most high status Arabs, you guys have the quote unquote magic of the West rubs off on us. Just understand that. And we need to take advantage of it, because if you look at our history, one of the ways we were secularized and modernized is actually Muslims went to Paris, went to Europe in the 1800s, and they were indoctrinated with secular ideals, and they were handpicked. You're going to learn this, you're going to learn that. And they went back to the Muslim countries, they took high positions. The grand khatib of Al-Azhar, the grand scholar of Al-Azhar, the grand Muhammad Abdu, was a Freemason. No, the Freemasons isn't some wacky conspiracy. It was a liberal fraternal order of spreading liberalism across the world. And Muslims were part of that. Lots of prominent Muslims were part of that, and other movements, other modernist and secular movements that subverted our institutions. Rifa'at al-Tahtawi, he came back from France. He was an imam, one of the imams that were sent to Paris, and he initiated what is now called the Egyptian Renaissance. Not a renaissance, right? But that's what they call it. And he basically initiated the modernization, the secularization of the Egyptian state. So we can do likewise in the opposite direction. If the Muslims here internalize what I'm saying and they become Islamic, like ideological functionaries who have this mission, who excel in their area of study, in their area of expertise, become influential people in the world, and then go back to the Muslim countries and build and influence. And we build the media channels to do so here because we have the freedom to speak here. We can change the ummah. This is basically what we're doing. Like I'm not doing this alone, and that's not just ideas. I'm part of the I3 Institute. And what I'm describing here, slowly but surely, is essentially what our method is to try to create this change in the ummah. The Islamic movement for the past 100 years has been trying to do this and hasn't succeeded. So this is, you can say that I3 is like the latest iteration in this century-long effort to revive Islam and to revive an Islamic civilization. We know it's not going to be done in a year. We know it's not going to be done in 10 years. It's the work of a generation. something like 30 years. So right now, to kind of zoom all the way back to the beginning of my answer, the priority is this. We need to get the Muslims here in the West to acknowledge that they are the Musas of the Ummah. Because they don't see it that way. They've never heard somebody speak like this. They've never even understood their Islam to be a system. Just like a personal religion, that's all they understood. So if we can desecularize those minds, if we can inspire them, if they can become great, if they can become organized and coordinated and networked, then they can really cause a huge, huge change in the Ummah. That's the short answer. You had your hand up, you want to say something?
The question was with regards to how we would, scholars were from Al-Azhar forward.
Yeah.
And what was the intention of revisions? Were they afraid of Islam coming to them, or did they want to spread the ideology to part of the world? Like there must be.
Whose motivation? The West or the East?
No, the West.
The West. The West's motivation is that they want to spread their ideas.
They don't think of Islam as a threat, but they just want to spread their ideas.
No, they do think of Islam as a threat. Right? So they essentially want their idea to win. So they see it as this is their da'wah.
So they started this because they saw Islam spreading?
No, they started it because they were on the up and up. They had a new concept that came from the European Enlightenment, and they wanted to spread their da'wah. They wanted the whole world to follow their ideas, just like we want the world to follow our ideas. They were ideological, yeah. Go ahead, brother.
I have some questions to maybe clarification.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you differentiate or put the fine line between nationalism and the love of the state you were born in? Like the example is the Prophet always had the love of country.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that he is like a nationalist towards country.
Yes.
The second part of the question is about lineage and also tribalism. Like the Prophet said,
Yes.
When he said to Hassan ibn Thabit, and he said that don't attack when he said attack them with poetry, but don't attack my lineage.
Yes.
And Hassan was able to, he said, took the lineage of the Prophet. They're related.
Yes. And even one of the battles, I forget the name of the battle, but the Prophet ﷺ screams out to the enemy that I am the grandson of Abdul Muttalib. Yes. SubhanAllah, like I can imagine, like that is such like an awful moment, like SubhanAllah. But anyway, so the answer to your first question, nationalism is an ideology by which you ascribe your in-group, your team, to be your nation state. Okay? This is totally different from having that natural connection to a land you were raised in. I'm naturally connected to Mississauga. Sure, I was born and raised there my whole life. But I don't have a loyalty, or I don't see the people who are from Mississauga necessarily to be my fellow countrymen or my fellow comrades or the people who I owe a loyalty or affiliation to. Okay? So this is what we're talking about when we speak about nationalism. We speak about identity. We speak about in-group identity. Like, who's your team? Who do you ride with? Who do you die for? Right? So that's the love of a place is just natural. Yani. Same thing, someone might love their relative who's a kafir. It's natural love, but it's not, we would never prioritize this affiliation over what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us with respect to that. The second thing on lineage, this is a bit nuanced, but definitely the lineage is part of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's description, right? So, there's a difference between saying that something is, like, let me give you an analogy. Like for instance, that we don't have nationalism on the basis of race. Like, you should not be an Arabist. But you can't insult Arabs, because then you're insulting Muslims and the Prophet ﷺ, right? So there's a difference between saying don't insult the lineage of somebody and saying that the lineage of somebody is the basis by which they're better than other people. Okay? So that's one thing. Now sometimes when the Prophet ﷺ used his lineage, that's because other people cared about it. That's because it's something that's important to people in society. I might stand in front of a group of Muslims or non-Muslims and tell them, I went to Waterloo and I got a master's in computer science. Therefore, I know what I'm talking about. If that's something that matters to you, that somebody who's a da'i knows about the world, I know about the world, I succeeded in the world. But inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The best of you to Allah, and the way that Allah measures people is by taqwa. So when I say this, it is not i.e. that this is something that is important to a Muslim, really. It's just something that people care about, people ascribe some sort of value to, and sometimes for some real reason, right? Some people, it's important that you're successful because people want to know that you know something about something. Lineage, yeah, like genetics matter. It's not something like totally superfluous. But when you form in-group identity on that basis, this is something that's haram and has nothing to do with Islam. This is what we're talking about. Or when someone thinks that they're better than somebody else on that basis, which is the same thing, right? I hope that makes sense. Good question. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was gonna look the brother behind you. Go ahead. Yes.
So, I have few friends, some people that I know, and they tend to take a lot of pride in their lineage or their tradition,
Yes.
or their culture, and also some of them have a very strong feeling towards their nationality and their rulers, even though their rulers are not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
So, my question is, I know that's wrong, but then I'm their friend and I do care about them being the right path. So what should I say, or how should I help them how to clarify this thing? That you have to understand this, that Islam comes above anything.
What you want to do with anybody that you disagree with is two things. This is not even specific to nationalism, it's just about persuasion in general. Number one, you need to start with common ground. Why do they see the good reasons for what they believe in? Because it's never black or white. They want good for their country. That's a good thing. Yeah. Now you need to start with that. Show them that you're on their team, that you're not an enemy of the values that they hold. Bro, like you love Bangladesh and you want something good for the Bangladeshi people. Me too. This is an amazing feature that you have. You don't just care about yourself, you care about your people. Okay, but how are we going to do the best for the Bangladeshi people? I offer to you that the way to do it is actually to think about Islam first. Paradoxically, your exclusive affinity and allegiance to the Bangladeshi people is what's hurting the Bangladeshi people. Or Bengali people, I don't know how. It's Bengali, right? Both. Okay, so, and you want to challenge him with that, like, you're actually going the wrong way according to your own values. Okay? The second thing you want to do with persuading people is you need to understand why they believe what they believe. And it's not always an intellectual argument. There's something emotional there. So you want to cut, and if you listen closely to people when they explain their beliefs, and just let them talk, you'll get to know why they believe what they believe. And that's what you want to change. Let's say somebody loves one of the rulers of the countries or whatever. You might find, after listening to them for long enough, that actually why they believe what they believe is because that's what their family believes. And if they went against this, they're going to lose the love of the family. They might not even realize that that's why they believe that. Okay? It's inherited. Like, this is part of their culture. It's like if you go against the ruler, if you go and criticize their ruler, you're threatening everything about themselves, everything about their identity, everything about what they loved growing up. So what you want to do is you want to understand that and then deconstruct that instead of going for the jugular, if that makes any sense. It's tough, but you just have to know what you're talking about and you have to be empathetic. That's what I would recommend. Yeah.
Another question. So if I want to change the systems and do the good things.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be threats also on my family.
Oh, absolutely, you have rights upon your family.
Why will this suffer for me?
What's that?
So why will this suffer for me? Or
Why will who suffer for you?
my family? I mean, if I want to do something good and step the Islamic system,
Yeah.
maybe there will be threat on me, or also on my family. There will be threat.
There will be what?
There will be threat.
Trait?
Suffering. Threat.
Threat. There will be threat upon you. Yes, yes, yes.
On me and upon
Yes.
my family. Yeah.
Well, that's how it goes. What do you think? Like, you think it's easy?
Why they will suffer for me, and
Well,
what should I do for that?
what happened? I mean, this is what happened to the Sahaba, right? This is why when we read when we read the Seerah, we never ever map this to like what we're supposed to be thinking and doing today, but we're supposed to. The Sahaba, when they accepted Islam, they suffered and their families suffered. They were exiled, they were boycotted. Banu Hashim were boycotted, right? The tribe of the Prophet, many of them were not even Muslim, but they're boycotted. What happened to the family of Ammar bin Yasir? Tortured, killed. This is the path of the believer. And you have to understand that when you choose this path, and everybody has a choice about what life they want to live, it's going to be hard on you and even perhaps on your family. And that's just a choice. That's just something you have to make peace with and understand that your family might even come out against you because they don't believe what you believe, but they're gonna pay for it. So what are you gonna do?
My question was
Yeah.
precursor to his when I started, and I was saying, how do you strengthen your niyyah to do what we are expected to do?
Yeah, this is a good question.
Yeah.
There's two answers to this. They're from the Quran. Both of them are from the Quran. One of them is Qiyam al-Layl. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah al-Muddathir or Muzammil? Which one is Qum al-Layla illa qalila? Muzammil. The Prophet said, Qum al-Layla wa nisfahu wa anqus minhu qalila warat fi Quran. And so on. And then he says, Inna sanulqi alayka qawlan thaqila. Indeed, we will reveal upon you, we will burden you with a heavy word. So Allah is linking Qiyam al-Layl, the night prayers, with the mission of carrying the da'wah. So that's why Allah made Qiyam al-Layl fard upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the early Sahaba. Eventually it was lifted, the fard was lifted. And incidentally, it was lifted in Medina. So after the state was established. So the da'wah carriers need that thaqafa, that tazkiyah, that culturing, that tazkiyah, because you cannot survive this mission without that renewal, that kind of depth. The second answer to your question is at-tawasi. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. You can't do it alone. You need to be strengthened by the brothers. You need to be strengthened by your companions, by your teachers, by those who you're with in this mission, right? So anybody who tries to go at it alone, anybody who neglects the spiritual side of things, they're going to be finished. They're not going to make it.
If I understand you correctly, you're saying don't have an individualistic mindset, but
Yes.
more of a ummah mindset.
Find your team. Find your brothers who are like you, who want to work on this with you, and join them and help them, and they help you.
How do you find the role? What are
How do you find what?
your role?
Your role. That's a good question. I mean, any group of people who are working towards this, they're going to have projects, they're going to have, roles for people to come in and fill, right? I'm part of I3 and I'm leading some projects and I'm part of some other projects. I have roles that I'm looking to fill. If anybody wants to help fill roles. The problem, of course, is that people get excited and then they, fizzle out, right? So as a person who leads a project, I need to I don't want to waste my time with somebody who I have not seen commitment proven from them yet. So one of the things that I like with Muslim Blueprint program is that people take the program, and while they're taking the program, they're being consistent, and they get to know myself and the other instructors, and they naturally get positioned within different projects that they're interested in. There's so many roles. There's so much things to do. So if you're really interested in being part of a change, and you acknowledge your responsibility, You need to find a group of people who are working on this objective, and you need to like collaborate with them to find out what you can do, how you can help.
Identify your skills. Well, I'm sorry, I understand. I was coming from a point of view of identifying
Your skill set.
within yourself. Actually,
That's a good question. So how old are you? 32. So you've lived long enough that you know what you're good at. You know what you're passionate about. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, that you've shown excellence in, or you've shown promise in, your comparative advantage, go all in on that. For some brothers, this brother, I was talking to him all day today and yesterday, go become an expert in economics. He's passionate about it. There's another brother, Ayyan, he's doing an economics degree. He's not passionate about it. So I told him, finish your degree, go find your passion, bro. Don't go like just, routinely on something that you don't care about, right? I did a computer science degree. I'm not using that anymore. I'm grateful for it. I think it's helped me think. It's helped me, it's changed the way I approach problems. But ultimately, like now what I'm trying to focus on is my expertise in history, Islamic knowledge, Western philosophy, so that I can try to kind of lead some of the thoughts in the Ummah, play my role. So, yeah.
There's a follow-up question for
Yeah.
the question that he asked about our families might feel threatened. So my question is how do you navigate, or what do you have to say about the love for the Allah and the love for your family? What prioritize?
Well, definitely the love for Allah dominates everything. Secondly, you reminded me, just because let's say you run away from, and this is the ayah in the Quran, let me find it. What's the ayah of Surah An-Nisa 66, I think? The one about the towers, the lofty towers? No, the one about death will come to you even if you're in lofty towers. Yeah, exactly. وَلَوْ كُنْتُمْ فِي بُرُوجٍ مُشَيَّدَةٍ. So, sorry? Yes, anywhere you are, death is going to come to you. So, also to build on my answer to you, I kind of give you a very blunt answer. But to give you more of the aqeedah of the Islam, death is preordained. So you being on this mission, or you saying the truth, or you not saying the truth is not going to save you. If you're going to die at this time, you're going to die at this time. If your family's going to suffer with this, your family's going to suffer with this. It's preordained. So running away from it is only going to get you the humiliation in the hereafter, and you're still going to get all the negatives. But what did you ask again? Oh, the priority of loving Allah and loving. And if you love your family, you're going to do what's right, and you're going to give da'wah to them to do what's right. Otherwise, again, you can chill out today, and your excuse can be, I want to protect my family, but are you protecting them from the hellfire? Or are you protecting them from some discomfort today? This is what we care about, right? Again, one of the key core misunderstandings of Muslims today, they think Jannah is easy. Yalla, 5 daily prayers, 5 pillars of Islam, and we stay away from haram, we don't do zina, no, we don't gamble, we don't do riba, khalas, Jannah. It doesn't work like that, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I have a question, trying not to be controversial or trying to be concise. How do you balance between criticism of leadership in the Muslim world? Doesn't have to be the ruler.
Yeah, scholars too.
Yeah, in general, and having the benefit of the doubt of some of them.
Yeah.
And not to go in either extremes.
Yes, that's a good question. I think that's a good question. There's 2 things I would emphasize. Number 1, the most important thing that we're doing when we're criticizing the leadership is to clarify what Islam means to the people. Because the reality is that when the leadership is failing, it means that people are understanding the wrong Islam. Because when the hakim is doing this, or when the alim doesn't say that, this creates an understanding about Islam and the people that is wrong. And so to correct that understanding, we have to criticize them, okay? But not all ulama are the same, not all hukam are the same. It's true, right? We criticize what is outward, we don't have to speculate about the intention. That's the balance, okay? We say this person is wrong because they didn't speak the haqq. This person is wrong because they're ruling by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws and they're doing wala to the kuffar or whatever. But we don't have to, do takfir of anybody. We don't have to speculate about the intentions of anybody unless they're super clear to us, right? So if they've exposed themselves in some way or another, again, it's case by case. صح? Yani I take the position that many of these scholars of the hukam are themselves victims of secularization, are themselves victims of not really having gotten the real understanding of Islam, because these schools that they went to weren't designed for that. Takhayyal, imagine you're the ruler of a Muslim country. So are you going to establish universities and academies that are going to produce people who are going to champion the legislation of Allah when your whole system is not based on that? You're basically, are you going to build a school for rebels? No. Okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to ban Islamic scholarship? The Muslims will come and riot. So what do? You give them 90% from your perspective, or 80%. What looks like 80%? Yalla, people become experts in tahara, they become experts in fiqh salat, they become experts in fiqh zakat, and they fill their time and they feel like they're learning, and yet some of the basics are missing. So sometimes somebody, if you look at one of my interviews with on Islamic Oasis, there's a sheikh in Chicago I visited, and he has an interview show. So you can check out Islamic Oasis, the live tab, you can find one of my interviews. And he went very harsh against Yasir Qadi. But I had a very I was more charitable. I said, look, Yasir Qadi was a smart guy who wanted to help ummah. He wanted to spend his knowledge for ilm. And the best idea he had was, let me go to the University of Medina. Okay, but the University of Medina is not going to empower you to do nothing, bro. And it's not going to empower you to lead the ummah and to say what's right, when it's right to do so, because again, hopefully the reality is properly understood at this point. So he was not empowered. And then he went from that to Yale. From tyranny-controlled scholarship to Orientalist-controlled scholarship. The guy, life hit him hard, two sides. So anyway, I'm not saying that he's absolved of anything or anything like that, but just to have some sympathy here, like that this whole system, it's a system level issue. It's systemic. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it wrong to support someone like Islam Taymiyyah said, if someone is going in tyrannical ruling and then work to make things better, is it wrong to support that person even? I'm talking here about, this is one of the...
If a tyrant starts to do the right thing?
No, just the people who are working against these tyrannical regimes.
Yeah.
That's something it's okay to support, or you have to collapse the entire system and then build a new one.
People who are working against tyrannical regimes.
Yeah, but even if he's like a person who's a ruler, for example. I'll give which is probably I disagree with.
Yeah.
With this Syrian
Rebels.
Rebels or the ruler of Syria. He worked. He looks like he is trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
To get to his rule.
Yeah.
What if we see it from another side, that he's trying to work, establish himself to work against a whole big system?
Support
that type of
I see what you're saying.
way of doing it, or you have to be against
my simple answer to this is that there's a prophetic method towards getting to power and establishing Islam. And one of the very important features of da'wah is that there's no deceit involved. That we have to be very clear about who we are and what we're trying to do. So this whole idea of, he's maybe hiding his real intentions, he's tricking people, and he's pulling some elaborate scheme I don't believe that. And even if it is true, it's not the right way to go. It's not the right methodology of the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, go ahead.
So in this world, when we see in the age of like democracy, right?
Yeah.
We see Islamic parties, like Islamic political parties, who kind of navigate this new sort of like political space
Yeah.
by engaging in democracy.
Yeah.
Engaging in democracy to get to power.
Yeah.
At the same time, getting to power and similarly achieving like power for Islam.
Yeah.
At the same time, just living up to the democratic ideals. Is that something that kind of
Yeah. This is
fits like
it's a good question.
prophetic vision?
One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ, so I don't know if people hear his question, he's like, look, in many of these countries, like Muslim countries, there's a democratic process that these parties, like people who want to do what we want to do, they engage in the democratic process. There's two things, well, there's many things. Well, the first thing is that these aren't democratic processes. They're rigged, right? The elections are rigged, and there's a concept in social science called, or sociology, it's called the pressure valve. It's called the safety valve institute. What that means is that the pressure in a pipe can build up a lot, so you have a safety valve to release some of the steam, okay? Otherwise, if you don't, the pressure is going to build, and then everything blows up, right? So what you do is you give people an outlet that's useless. You let them protest here, you let some council of scholars put out a statement here, and you let people go to the voting booth, and it makes them feel like something is being done. It makes them feel like there's hope. So the frustrations of the people don't mount into a full revolt against the system. That's why they do it. But one of the things that the Prophet ﷺ taught us in his method and his example is that there is no compromise on the path towards establishing Islam. So if engaging in these elections forces us to legislate by other than Allah's laws, which it doesn't necessarily, by the way, you can run on a platform of I am the Sharia platform and I'm not going to rule by Allah's laws. Technically, that there wouldn't be necessarily haram in that. But you have to be not naive of the process and what the process might lead to from a political power perspective. And this is unfortunately what I would criticize the Muslim Brotherhood about, is that they were naive about the reality of where power is concentrated in society. They thought that, okay, if we elect the people that we have and they take the de jure positions of power, then we will be able to shape the country in our vision, which is not the case. Because oftentimes, true power in a society is unelected, and it needs to be convinced and lobbied and won over. And in the case of Egypt, in the case of Pakistan, in the case of Turkey, the military is one of the most important, not the only, but one of the most important, let's say domains of power, power brokers. Sorry? Yeah, it is. I mean, that is the concept of a deep state, that you have kind of an elected power structure and an unelected power structure. Every country has that. There's a book called Double Government. I forget the rest of the title of the book, but if you Google Double Government book, you'll probably find it. I want to read it. I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's very good. That same sheikh from Chicago who interviewed me put me onto it, so I have to read it.
For, as we said, we get the two examples: people who went to rebels, fighting to rule, and you say that we couldn't reach or to without compromising. What do we see as compromising, or going to democracy, which has a lot more problems than even the first category, because it's not. Start with compromising. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with Islam at all. So what is
that's the solution? Well,
solution for us and people there?
Again, I go back to the Prophet ﷺ. How did Yathrib become the Islamic State? The Prophet ﷺ first convinced 6 from the Khazraj who came for Hajj. Okay, they weren't necessarily like the top of the power structure, but Mus'ab ibn Umair was sent to Medina and he got more and more people. Okay, so what was happening was that the elites of the society were disillusioned in the current way things were going. Civil war, tribalism, conflict. They said, we cannot continue like this. So they were looking for a solution. Last one? Okay, so finally they found a solution, which was, yeah, they can come in, I guess, come in. They found a solution which was in Islam. They were ready to accept it. Mus'ab ibn Umair convinced intellectually enough of the power brokers in that society and the public, such that the society, there was no coup, there was no war, there was no rebellion, and there was no compromise. It was da'wah, and it worked. Now, it's not that simple. Because today, it's not just about sitting in front of the rulers or sitting in front of generals and convincing them, establish the khilafah, fear Allah. Because there's lots of work that needs to be done in order to generate public opinion, because that's very important to how societies change. There's lots of work that needs to be done in terms of the theory of like, okay, what will an Islamic state look like? How will these economies look like? There needs to be a lot of work done in coordinating these different people. There needs to be a lot of work done in getting trust of the people. Like, people don't trust the Islamic movement anymore because it failed so much, right? So getting the right people on board the bus, getting the right, and this is why I'm talking to this group, right? I didn't come just for fun or just because I'm a da'i and this is what da'is do. No, I came because I'm looking for the right people. I'm looking for who's going to help this mission win. So there's a long process to this, not too long inshallah, but it ends the way it ended in Yathrib, which is society is convinced and it moves towards establishing the Islamic system. Barakallahu feekum.